The iReader Smart 4 eNote just got supercharged and widens the gap between the Kindle Scribe even further. This is the Smart 4 Pro. And currently, as well as the Smart 4, this is the only 10.3-inch Wacom-enabled eNote that actually features physical page turn buttons that are key mappable. This unit has been beefed up with double the speed up to a quad-core processor utilizing an ARM Cortex A55 and doubles the RAM up to 2 gigs. This is all going to translate in better ease of use and of course faster overall user experience. So let's dive in. If you guys want to see the full review in its entirety, check the video card up above. Reason being, this is the exact same thing as the Smart 4, just in a more advanced output. Basically, it has more RAM, more speed, and you get the same pen as well. But I must say, this pen is fantastic. iReader is notorious for making very high quality digital stationery. This is a well-weighted pen. It has a black kind of acceptance area here. I don't know what you call that, but it's kind of nicely contrasted against the white body. It is all matte and it snaps to the side via magnets on the side there. Looking over at the unit itself, let's go over what we can do. On the left, we have Home, Notebook, Bookshelf, Store, and Daily. If you go over to Settings, yes, as you can see, everything is in English. You get Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Read, Notes, Display, General, etc. If you go to General, there's a bunch of things here. For example, USB book import is when you plug this in, you can actually put all of your books in here. That's really why I point this out, is because this doesn't actually have English titles on its bookstore. You won't really find any of that, so unfortunately you will have to sideload everything in. You also have this one, is what we want to point out. This is key mappable buttons, so you can actually choose what button will do what. You can choose previous page, next page, return, glow light on, refresh. You don't have to have them as dedicated page turn buttons. They are fully key mappable. Now we're just going to get into a few things here because, like I said, we already did this review. We don't have to go over every single thing again, but you have your drop down here, you have your glow lights, both warm and cool, you have Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, global refresh, you have rotation lock, etc. Let's get into it. Let's go to the bookshelf first, shall we, and open up an actual e-book. When you're in a book, you can use the page turn buttons as page turn buttons if you kept them that way from the key mapping. Honestly, this is the only device that has this setup. There is no other device that had this setup. I see no reason why other manufacturers can't have page turn buttons. It's a welcomed addition to anything. It just gives you that realistic feel, gives you that immersion. I absolutely love it. You can do long presses on things, that's no problem whatsoever, and they actually give you the ability to draw right out of the gates. And iReader devices are so fast. They're so fast. There's almost no latency. It's absolutely incredible. I love it. You can take notes. You can go like this. It has good pressure sensitivity. It's just lightning quick. It is underrated. It definitely, honestly is. In terms of the reading experience, you're going to have zero shortcomings. There's really nothing you can be held up with. And when you do long presses, you see all the additional features are in English as well, where some companies actually don't go that far as to give you the subsections in English. So that is a very, very good experience, even with the stock experience. And unfortunately, you can't change it because this does have Android, but you can't sideload in APKs. PDFs are very solid as well. Now, this is where you get into using PDFs, honestly. Everything can use PDFs, 7 inches, 6 inches. You don't want to use PDFs anything south of a 10.3. Ideally, you want to use it on a 13.3, but that's not always realistic for a lot of people. 13.3s are very expensive. We're lucky that we get to play with all these, but it would hit our wallets as well to buy $800, $900 devices. So trust us, 10.3s is a very good middle ground. On a 10.3, you do get a decent amount of screen real estate. You can still do long presses and everything, and even on PDFs, of course, you can do your note taking. Also, you have the ability to pinch and zoom. You don't get a mini map or anything like that, but you do get a zoom level guide down below. Now, there's a couple different things you can do while you're in the PDF section. One pretty interesting thing I found was that they allow you to hide your notes. No other manufacturer's done that. For example, you see our notes here. If you go over to more and then you click on reading, it's going to say your handwritten notes will be hidden. I'm not entirely sure the reason. I guess it's a before and after comparison thing, and don't worry, they're not gone. They actually come all back. When you go back to note mode, they show up again. So it's a very interesting feature, to say the least. You also get the ability to underline via the pen, and you can utilize layers even on PDFs, and you can just keep adding layers. Very interesting to say the least, because some manufacturers don't allow you to do layers outside of the note-taking section. It is only in the note-taking section, which, by the way, we're going to get into right now. As we said before, iReader is so quick. Unfortunately, no, they don't do tilt. So if I go to pencil and I go to thick line, this is going to be the exact same as that. There's no tilt action. And interestingly enough, why I say that is because there are multiple manufacturers now that handle tilt. When you do a line like that, it'll look like that. And when you do tilt, it'll look like that naturally. It'll kind of be this dusted feel, but unfortunately they don't have that. But they do have other things that make them unique. For example, they have shaping. So if you go to something a little bit more consistent, say a ball pen, just for example, it works on anything, but we'll just do this. You can actually make perfect shapes, and it rounds them off and squares them off, and it's just a very realistically usable experience. You have to get used to how you draw things, because sometimes it can be construed as other things, and unfortunately I don't think stars work. They do not, and that was really reserved for something like Supernote, where they kind of pioneered the whole shaping when it comes to stars, but that's where it ended. When it comes to other shapes, this is really the only company that'll do that. It kind of rounds everything off for you. And this is different than shapes. They do still have shapes, so don't worry. You can still make your perfect rectangles and things like that. They also do something else here. If we go over to a new page and we click on templates, they have Blackboard mode. This is really interesting because so far we don't see many manufacturers that allow Blackboard mode. We've seen inverted mode, where they invert the entire device, but you can see that the device is not inverted. We're actually utilizing a white color, or you can use the eraser on the page to turn it into a boogie board. So this could be useful to some people that want more of a white on black versus a black on white experience, easier on the eyes, etc. This eraser is one of a kind as well. The eraser at the back of the pen is a very, very high grit, sticky eraser. It almost feels like an actual eraser. It's not as good as the Staedtler Jumbo, which is just basically the best eraser on the market, if that's something you care about. But this is really nice. Look at this. You can almost move the device around with it, which is saying a lot. That's a pretty good level of grip. I absolutely love this eraser. It's accurate, and it gets rid of nearly all the staining in the background. There's almost nothing left. I think it is very underrated. There's a lot of underrated features of this unit, to be completely honest. Absolutely love it. It's fast, it's gritty, it feels good, it's good responsiveness, there's no latency, there's really very little to no shortcomings when it comes to the actual experience. Now that's subjective. Some people like more of a glassy experience. You're not going to find that here. This is very sandpapery. For a glass screen, I must say, this is not a plastic screen, but you still get this level of realistic writing feel. Because this has onboard audio as well, you can play music on it, and it has a dedicated music player. It's not very loud, even at nearly its loudest volume, but oh my goodness is that clear. It also has stereo speakers on board, so it takes full advantage of the whole range. I must say, some of the better sounding speakers we've heard in a while. This unit does a lot of unique things like shaping, Blackboard mode, and other things that companies just simply don't do. It has physical page turn buttons along with the Wacom screen, and it is bundled with one of the best stationary pieces in the market, the X Pen. However, it doesn't let you sideload in APKs despite Android. It's not expensive, but it's not cheap at $3.99 approximately, and it lacks an English bookstore as iReader is primarily a Chinese company. When it comes down to it though, this is an absolute beast and does everything you're going to want out of an eNote, from 2 styles of touch, page buttons, and of course warm and cool light as well. For GoodyReader.com, this is Peter.